had a tiny fight turn into a big problem?
I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about.
I'm Emily Gough, a relationship coach. I've spent years exploring how we connect to grow and heal in love. To me, love is both a mirror and an opportunity. It asks us to face ourselves honestly and to choose courage over comfort.
And I'm Gardner, an embodied leadership coach and communications consultant. Love isn't theory, it's practice. How we speak, listen, and show up when it really matters. So every week we coach couples, and what we share here is what we use in the room.
Together, we invite you into our real-life relationship, including the conflicts, the breakthroughs, and tools we use with other couples.
Our dance is simple. You move towards me, and
you tend to move away.
I think I call that strategically retreating.
I think that they call that relationship code for hiding in YouTube.
Some episodes we dive into our story, heartbreaks, laughter, and lessons. Others break down the practices and conversations we use with couples, sometimes even with our live clients.
This is Love in Practice.
Let's grow this. Welcome to Love in Practice. This is our very first episode, and we are so happy to be here with you as we explore what it means to be in the practice of maintaining a long-term relationship. And trust us, it's not easy. We are going to be exploring both the practice, as we are two practicing relationship coaches, and exploring what it means to really do the work to maintain and build a long-term relationship while revealing to you guys exactly what we're going through in real time as a married couple and as a couple that works together with clients to support their relationships. Emily, why are we here today?
We are here today because we were so cute. We thought we could skip some steps of relationship.
We were cute though.
We were adorable. We still are. We're very adorable. And there is no skipping steps. And these stages of relationship that we'll get into a little bit more later, we thought we could just skip right past stage 2. We're like, well, we've got all the skills. We've got, a little more than the average human, I would argue.
Yeah, we weren't going to skip stage 1. I mean,
that's the honeymoon.
The honeymoon stage, right? I mean, we all love
we were in it.
The honeymoon stage, and we were just like, and we were so adamant that we were not even in the honeymoon stage.
Oh, we were.
We were like, we went past the honeymoon stage at like month 1.
Like at least month 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we are now fully just in our relationship. But this is what our relationship looks like. Like it's just that good because we've done the work, We've done the work to build a good relationship, and we help other people do this. So this is going to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That's we were in full agreement on that.
Yeah, sure.
It was so cute.
It's been so cute. Easy, hasn't it?
It's been a time. It's been a time. And we also, I will also say we have had a lot of circumstances in the past year that have created a lot for us to work through. On a scale of massive life stressors, there is, psychologically speaking, there are, kind of like top 10, top 20 life stressors. We have hit an enormous amount of them.
Absolutely.
All in 1 year.
In this first season, we're going to explore what it means to have love across borders.
Yes.
The borders that we create internally to our love based on our past experiences, our family history, as well as the physical borders. You're Canadian, I'm American. We've had to navigate immigration in a very interesting time to be going through immigration, where it's very topical, as well as, blending families. I have 2 children that I had previous to this relationship, what it means to cross that border and to work across those things. So there's been a lot of big things to really explore as we are going to explore the borders that we create consciously and unconsciously to the love that we want to have.
Yeah, because these borders create a separation and disconnection. And to me, love in practice is constantly looking to dissolve some of those borders in a lot of ways. But when it comes to internal borders and boundaries, there's also a fine line because we still need to maintain personal boundaries in order to protect ourselves in some ways, but in a healthy way, not protect ourselves from allowing love in, but to not be so porous. And that's something that I have struggled with at times in particular. We all do to some degree, but I am so deeply empathic. We joke before about you are not a morning person. So this is just one brief example. And I wake up happy and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go.
Oh yeah. It's so lovely.
And so irritating for my sweet husband who does not want to speak to humans before the hour of 9 a.m. at the earliest.
It's not necessarily it's the hour. It's, I need a buffer zone.
Yes.
I need a buffer zone to come into this world,
And I used to be really deeply impacted by that. Like it was a hard start to my day. I just wanted to hug you and connect with you briefly before we went about our day. And I had to really learn. And it took you looking at me with tears in your eyes, asking to be accepted for not being a morning person, for me to get it.
Yeah.
And I was already aware of where I needed to have more personal boundaries to not be so deeply impacted by anyone else's mood. But that one in particular always stands out to me as a really powerful example of where I needed a little bit more of that border within
And how
me.
often does that come up where
Exactly.
I have a way of being, a way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And in my own individuation, these things become, of course, this is just how, things are. And this is how I want my life to go. This is one of the great things, right? Before we get into relationship, I go, this is what my ideal relationship is going to be like. And it's a imagination, maybe it's even a Pinterest board, or I don't know what young people do these days, but you create this idea and then you're committed to this idea. And if someone doesn't fit that idea, then they might not be the right person for you. Mm-hmm. And I start questioning whether or not this is the right relationship for me. And then it goes into, are they the same values? Are they same, right? But we're just different people. And how do we come together, create a union, and really not only accept each other's differences, but learn to love those differences and learn to create a safe space for us to be our own individual people together. Mm-hmm. And that's not easy.
It is not. That is the real work.
And I'd say that I thought, I'd been in a marriage before, worked through all these things. I do this professionally, I'm not going to have to do this all over again when I get into a new relationship. I'd get to start a little bit further ahead in the line. And the truth is, it just doesn't work that way. No. Because we're different people. And each time we get into a relationship, we have to really wrestle. And I do mean wrestle with these differences. I think also as I get older, I get more incalcitrant in my ways. I just believe like this is just the way things are. This is the way that I am, and I'm not going to change. And yet, if I'm going to be in a relationship, there are going to be places where I'm going to have to change.
Mm-hmm. And so the 5 stages of relationship, the first stage is the honeymoon stage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the honeymoon stage.
Where all the magic is.
The oxytocin.
Oh, yeah. It's just
the cocktail
of
hormones. And this is what people generally refer to as love, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's this overwhelming feeling of connection, of like, I'm drawn to this person. They make me feel so good. And really, there's a chemical cocktail that's making me feel really good.
Absolutely.
Right?
And there's evolutionary reasons for that as well in terms of the bonding and everything else. But it does feel really good. And I also am of the belief that these stages, and we'll walk you through them briefly, but these stages can also ebb and flow. Mm-hmm. So it's similar to me in terms of the stages of grief in some ways, where you don't just hit a level and then you're good. You never go back to a different level. That's not really how healing in general works. Healing is this like bubble that you see with all these lines interconnected with each other. And sure, overall, there's an upward journey within it, but it doesn't mean that you never circle back. It's like you think you've healed something and then 5 years later, you run to a situation where the same stuff comes up. You're like, I thought I already dealt with this. But with the honeymoon stage, I do think that we get to go back to that in some ways. But the second stage is the power struggle.
Yeah. What's really interesting is the first stage also has this beautiful anesthetic effect, right? Where it blocks me from seeing all of these things that are like, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't, I don't know. But I love this person so much and not a big deal.
We overlook the flaws.
But in stage 2, that mask just drops. It's like an anvil. It's like, boom, done.
There's no hiding any possible red flag.
No.
And this is the stage that most couples don't make it through.
Yeah.
This is it because it's not even just the struggle of the stage. It's that it brings up all these questions of, did I make the right choice? Do I really want to be with this person? I don't know if I can handle this. I feel like I would be so much better off with someone who just understands me better. And we already start to then project a fantasy of who we would be in another relationship with another person who must just be so much better suited to us because it's not our issue, it's our partner's problem.
And there lies the big issue, right? It's not me, it's my partner.
Yes.
And if I could replace this person, then everything would be better. But ultimately, when I replace this person, I'm going to replace the same pattern.
Until you deal with it and heal
with
it and go within to figure that out and take responsibility for your role in it. And also, are you actually pouring into yourself to be the person you want to be, to bring into your current relationship so that they actually get to experience you in that way? Or are you saving those parts of yourself for the projection of some future relationship that will just be magical and just remain in the honeymoon stage forever? And to be honest, I wouldn't want to actually be in the honeymoon stage forever because it doesn't have as much depth.
Yeah.
It feels like it initially, but it doesn't actually have quite as much depth as real, true, committed, deep love.
And I don't know about you, but I think this is the space where I thought, oh, I've already done the work, right? I looked at my previous relationship. I did the work on how it was me. What was it that I was bringing to this and how did I need to change that, right? And I was like, okay, I've acknowledged this. I've acknowledged these big things that I'm working through that have built into my family structure, how I'm dealing with this. And I've looked at these things and I've done the work. So next time I go into a relationship, I'm not going to have to do that work.
It'll be smooth sailing.
Yeah, but it's going to be completely different work because it's a different person.
Yeah.
Or a game
Different
of whack-a-mole
flavors.
where it looks completely different in this thing because I'm not crazy. I'm not going to choose the same thing again. I'm going to choose something different that's going to not bring me the same outcome that I had last time. So this time I'm going to be, clear.
Yeah.
And yet it rears its ugly head again. And then you go back right through the process of like, my partner is not right, What is it about me? What is it about me that I get to continue to look at and to grow into? And so I think this stage is really, we have clients that have been together for a decade and are still in this stage or just coming to this stage because they tried to gloss over it. They tried to go, you know what? I'm going to put these things to the side. I love this person. I'm not going to address these things that I don't like. I'm just going to put them in my back pocket. I'm going to forget about them. Then we have kids and then everything else. We go into focusing on family. We go into focusing on careers. But in my back pocket, I've got this thing that is just rubbing and irritating me. And come year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, suddenly it's just too big. And now there's a little bit more space in the family. Maybe the kids are a little bit older. Maybe my career is a little bit more on track. And now I start going, is this really the relationship I want to be in? And you know what? I got this thing in my back pocket and it's been rubbing me for a long time. And it's time for me to pull it out. And now it's this big, massive welt of a irritation. And I drop it down and it's like, this is deal with it.
And that resentment festers. And the one thing that you and I have prided ourselves in this relationship is that we joke that there are no rugs. There are no rugs to sweep anything under in our house and I will say that has been quite stressful at times for my sweet little nervous system that prior to this relationship, I didn't have conflicts in my relationship for the most part. I was in a 9-year relationship prior to this. And I think for the first 3 years, we didn't fight once. And even once we did fight in the remaining 6 years of that relationship, it wasn't often, and it never really fully cleared everything out. And that ended up in a complete firebomb that you'll hear about on a future episode. But in this relationship, we have been relatively high conflict from the beginning, which was a shock to me. But for you, apparently it's normal. This is standard for you in virtually every relationship.
Yeah, that's something I definitely get to look at, right? Is that, I go, well, every relationship, there's conflict. Now, I will say that I lead into conflict, and my background is in conflict resolution and nonviolent communication. And so, I tend to just go straight in, and with a deep belief that we can work through whatever this is. I don't, if there's something that shows up, I'm going to call it right then and there. I don't sit on it. I don't wait on it. I'm just like, hey, that's it. Let's talk about that thing. And that can be extremely confronting.
It definitely can be. It has been. And I also think there's a lot of value in it. I also think that we get to find a more median type of place so that it's not more one extreme or the other. And we are working on that. And as we continue to go deeper and learn more about each other and each other's nervous systems and how to communicate in a way that is not just best by textbook version, but what is best for you, the human who is sitting in front of me with your particular stories, traumas, background, family history, relationship history, what works best for you, and also teaching you what works best for me and letting you feel that from me and feel the difference when you show up in a little bit different way and I'm so much more responsive. That is part of the work of moving through this stage.
Yeah. And so much of this comes back to family of origin, right? What did conflict mean in my family of origin? How does it feel comfortable? Does it feel uncomfortable? For a lot of people, they go into a relationship and go, if people fight, then they're going to break up. Or my parents never fought. So a good relationship is one where people don't fight. Though they did fight, you just didn't see them fighting. Or they built tons of resentment because they built up these differences that they never addressed, and they kind of smirked and smiled through it. But we all felt it. And sometimes that can be the most difficult thing to go through, because we know, even as children, we know there's something wrong here, but nobody's calling it, nobody's naming it. And so we have to deal with that. Or we came up in a dynamic where, relationship or arguments are the norm, but love never leaves the room. Yeah. And so those become the expectations that each of us carry with us subconsciously, that this is what a healthy, positive relationship or a negative, doomed relationship is going to look like. And so we either have a tendency to drive towards that, thinking the other person should be on board with it, or run away with it, recognizing that the other person should know that this is absolutely how it's not going to work.
And to me, the power struggle stage is ultimately about asserting. The honeymoon stage is like this merging of two people into one. And I wrote an entire book on this, that it's not you complete me, it's that you grow me. And in order to not be completed, you can't be two halves of a whole. You have to be an individual human. So part of the power struggle is asserting yourself as an individual and then learning how to work with that a little bit more. Do you want to share the next stage?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay. The next stage is stability and repair. And again, that's where I think you've moved through the power struggle in a lot of ways, and you have better learned to navigate creating more ease with each other and repairing from, let's be honest, sometimes some of the trust that has been eroded in the power struggle stage, because that is part of it, is unintentionally, or sometimes on our worst days, intentionally hurting the other one to better assert ourselves. And there's a lot of There's a lot of the relationship that gets to be reestablished in a new and deeper way in that stage. Yeah. That's really beautiful. But sometimes people can stay stuck in the power struggle stage, by the way, for 20 years. Like this is not, there is no certain amount of time associated with this. It's different for every couple with every stage. But because the power struggle stage is so tricky, that's why a lot of people don't make it past it. And you and I are just fully determined that we are not going to remain in this stage. We're moving on. We're moving on to the next stage.
You know, and I think that, and this has been really recent for us. And so, as I said, we're working through this in real time with you guys. And, you know, this has been something that we've only recently come to realize is that we are actually in this stage, you know, and our greatest hopes, you know, we were doing stability and repair in month 3. You know, that's what we consciously thought this is where we're at. You know, we had a big challenge, you know, in month 3, and we worked through that and we grew together through it. So, you know, so we're on to the next stage, you know, we're moving right through it. And, you know, I think that it's hard to recognize sometimes and hard to accept that it's harder than we might think.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're moving towards stability and repair. And we have help to do that. And I think it's something that's important for all of us, no matter how good we are at this. Sometimes it requires having an outside perspective, because again, the power dynamic, this power dynamic, this push and pull, it's difficult sometimes to work it out. Like who's gonna pull us out of this? Who's going to help us navigate this is a really important part of the process. And I think that's what we have been for so many other people. And now we get to really receive that as well, to help us find where we can deepen into repair. And the stability that is on the other side of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the 4th stage is deeper commitment. You know, even though we're already married, actually, I mean, I'll just share this. We knew very early on that we were going to get married. That was not really in question. There's a little bit more details to that we'll save for another episode, but we did know very early on that we were going to get married. Now, immigration sped up that process a little bit. And we were both fully aware of that. We both recognized that and we were okay with that. Again, there's more to this. There's more meat to this that we can talk about.
Well, I would say this is that I don't know. I'd fully agree with that in the traditional sense. And I think I was really clear about that. You know, after 2 divorces, I was really clear that I never wanted to be married within the context of the state again, as in the idea that, you know, that somehow there was this federal government or state government that had to be involved in my relationship. I wasn't interested in that. Well,
and again, I was also okay with that, but we live in 2 different countries, and that presented a unique issue.
And so for me, what was really clear for me about being married was making that commitment of a long-term relationship in front of my community, and being held in that commitment. And we'll talk more about that as we go on, what that ritual and that ceremony is really about. And I think from the very beginning, I felt it was really clear that we were headed in that direction.
And that was what I was getting to with the deeper commitment stage, is that is still ahead of us, that we are still going to end up having the gathering of all of our closest humans to speak our vows in front of, because to each of us, that was to me as well, that has always been the important part of the marriage. The piece of paper is fine. And I haven't been married before. So there are aspects where it perhaps means a little bit more to me than it does to you, having gone through 2 divorces. But the piece that really matters, and there's scientific data to back this up actually as well, that people who get married and speak their vows in front of their closest humans are more likely to stay together than people who who elope, and that's very much based on averages. That's not to say in every case one way or the other, but there is something to that because it's the accountability.
Yeah. I think that it's interesting, the statistical anomalies there. What really interests me is not so much there's a deeper level of commitment that I think is really clear. And I say this with all truthfulness that, on some level, I'm going before God in my community. And there is something about this notion of inviting a higher power into it. I think that's why we have this ritual of involving a priest or a rabbi, whatever your religion, your denomination. I think that there is, in a healthy family, there is an acceptance that there is something greater than us as individuals that we are inviting into this conversation. And there is a community that is holding us to the commitments that we say we're making. And I really think that that's the core piece of the ritual. And when that is done, with truth and honesty, I think that it's inevitable that there is a greater strength to the fabric of that relationship than two people trying to do this on their own. And I think that there's absolute truth to that it's hard. It's really hard to do relationship in isolation.
It is. And in today's culture, at least in the Western world, that is typical. It's much more standard than it ever used to be. And I will also say, I did really feel, I didn't necessarily expect to feel a huge shift once we got legally married, but I did. I did feel a shift in a really powerful, beautiful way, like that deepening of commitment, even though it wasn't yet the commitment ceremony that we know that we are moving towards and looking forward to. Because there is something really powerful about that.
And I think it gets to be asked is, how much of this is, again, coming back to my family of origin, the expectations that I have built into me from society and from my, growing up of what these ideas mean. And how much of that do I bring into my relationship of what stability is going to mean when I get married, for example, and how much of that is a concept that I brought with me into this relationship. And then in this stage, this second stage is where you start to kind of come to grips with does that mean the same thing for this other person that it means for me? And do we have shared meaning around that, or are there some expectations that are underneath the surface?
And a lot of this you won't be conscious to until you are in relationship with another human. We all think, I thought many times over, that I had all of those expectations for the most part ironed out. I knew enough about expectations to know that there could be some covert ones, some that were not yet known even to me, but it's really in the uncovering of that. Terry Real is someone that I really resonate with. We both do. And he's a very well-known couples therapist. And one of the things that he talks about is that your marriage begins the day you wake up and look at the person next to you and go, who the hell did I marry? This isn't what I signed up for. And you and I had that moment. We had that literal conversation, basically, of like, where did the person I marry went? Each of us feeling that way. And then we also both kind of laughed because we're like, oh, well, we're married now. Now we're really figuring it out. But then that leads into the fifth stage, which is the stage of bliss and really deep love. Because that's when you've seen the other person's shit. You have seen them at their worst. You have seen them at their best. You have heard the expectations. There's always more to uncover, but you have heard and battled with the expectations, both your own and the other. You have fought. You have repaired. You have been through the fucking trenches together. And you have come out on the other side, seeing that person in full and still choosing them.
Yeah.
And that is the level of deep intimacy that gets to be created on the other side of these stages.
And what most people don't see, when you see that old couple that, you just like, wow, they're so cute. Is that almost every one of them that I've spoken to or had a conversation with, they've gone through something deep, something hard and something heavy, whether it was, there was an affair, or a loss of a child or a family member, or they have oftentimes gone through things that are really, really challenging. And on the other side of those challenges is really the deeper level, that super deep connection of just like, I got you. And I think that and many of us, I think it's true that we're trying to avoid those hardships. We're trying to avoid those challenges. We're trying to sidestep them because they seem too big and seem too heavy. But the ones that really make it, the ones that really get to that other side, to that deep, deep love and commitment and that deep knowing, they've been through some stuff, and they've really come out on the other side stronger as a result of it. And I think that this is really the key. That each of us gets to learn in this lifetime is that building a life with other people, not just my own life, my own way, but building a life with somebody else is hard work. And it is some of the most valuable and best work of our lives. And what really truly brings us into adulthood and into true experience of intimate communion.
And when I see those older couples, I think, how many times have they had to forgive each other?
Oh, yeah.
How many times has trust been eroded and rebuilt again and again and again? How many hard conversations have they had and worked through? And that really is the magic in a lot of ways. And one thing that I don't want to speak for you, so you correct me if this is wrong or not, but or if this is true for you or not, but one of the things I know I can say about myself, and I think I can safely say about you as well, is that both of us are deeply committed humans. And we did not enter into this lightly. And we both knew and recognized about the other. Neither one of us are people to run when it gets hard. And I really think that that's a powerful quality that is required for the depth of long-term committed partnership that you and I are in the messy process of co-creating.
Yeah. I'll say this. I shared this with some of my closest men really early in our relationship. There's a story that that Alex Hormozy shares that I really love when he talks about, kind of losing everything. And he goes back to his wife and he says, I think I understand if you want to leave me. I've lost it all. And she turns to him and says, no, wherever you go, I go. It's the story of Sita and Ram. It's the story of really deep, devoted love. And I think that is something that each and every one of us are looking for. And early in our relationship, I knew that if I was living under a bridge, you'd be living under a bridge with me. That there was this statement that I said very early on that this is my ride or die. And she's in it. And that means a lot to someone like me. And so we're in it. We are in it as we speak, but we are also still committed. And I still believe that each and every day that this is my ride or die. And we're going to work through it. And we're going to work through it with you guys. So thank you for joining us for this first episode as we continue to reveal our journey, our challenges, and hope that they resonate with you as you enter into this most amazing journey of entering into love in the practice of actually deepening a long-term lasting relationship. Wherever you are in it, I hope that there is something that you get to gain from this journey as we uncover what it is for us. In this first season, we're going to talk about our journey through love and how that has brought us closer together and further apart, as well as later in the season, opening up some of our practices and how we work with other couples and revealing some of their work in real time so that you get to to see and hear from them how this work actually plays out as we really go deeper and deeper each and every season into our journey and the journey of our clients together, and the practices that will bring you into deeper, long-term committed love.
And it won't always be all serious either, because I bring the laughter wherever I go, and we're also going to have lots of play on here too. There's going to be a bit of both. We joke that this is my Roy Kent.
Yes.
I am the Keeley to my Roy Kent.
We also have 10 years apart, which makes for a lot of comedy, as well as the two people separated by a common language of English. Canada and America, we are further apart than we might think.
Almost every day we uncover at least one word where his head whips around. He's like, what did you say? How did you pronounce that? I say progress, you say progress. Just as one example.
And more to come.
More to come. So much more to come.
Join us on the next episode as we dive deeper into how we got here.
And love in practice.